Right, so yeah, I did a PowerPoint presentation when I first actually looked at noir in detail, researching it on the net. So I put on there very basic, it's not in massive depth, but it was just a starter for me to consider the conventions of film noir. So I found out a bit of context, that classic film noir was developed during and after World War II predominantly, taking advantage of post-war ambience and especially the key themes of anxiety and pessimism and suspicion. Film noir really focuses on, sort of, at times there are murder mystery, whodunit, that kind of thing. There is a lot, an air of mystery in the characters, identity. Those are the key themes that build up film noir. It was a style of film noir as a style of black and white American films that first evolved in the 1940s, became prominent in the post-war era, so that was the anxiety, the pessimism, and then lasted in a classic golden age period until about 1960. And the film that marks sort of the end of noir, the last, one of the last classic, well-known ones, Orson Welles' Touch of Evil, 1958. I know it's a lot of text, but it's really quite interesting. I found it really interesting to really look into. Very often, a film noir story, this is looking at the narrative overview of the structure and the sort of style. Very often a film noir story was developed around a cynical, hard-hearted, disillusioned male character. And then there's some examples of actors that have been famous in film noir. So, hard-hearted, disillusioned male character who encountered a beautiful but promiscuous, immoral, double-dealing and seductive femme fatale. So this is the first time I really came across the idea of femme fatale, which was became very central. It interested me greatly, which is why I think I pursued it. Considering the idea of the mysterious seductress, but then also the stereotype of the female character being, almost a mistress, a belonging to a man. I'm not a feminist, I would say, but I found it very interesting to consider that there could be, an exploration of emotions for that character, as opposed to just the front of the sex appeal and the seducting sort of ways, which is why I think I really went down that path of really looking into how I could work around that idea of a character. But yeah, a little bit more about femme fatale. She would use her feminine wiles and come-hither sexuality to manipulate him into becoming the fall guy, so she does have some power. And then it says often following a murder. So murder is also a key theme, a key sort of, a key theme in noir, often used. I personally steered away from murder because I felt it would be very hard to, just to do convincingly and to do well. I mean, I know that film noir generally looks pretty cheesy. That's the way it looks with the flashy subtitles that come up and the music. But I thought, oh gosh, it's gonna be a mission to pull it off and to actually make it look like noir. So yeah, I stayed away from murder as a theme, but it is an important part of noir. It's a convention that, well, not necessarily a convention, but something that was often used, which I did break away from. for fear of not being able to stage it well, basically. I mean, yeah, it would have been possible, but I didn't want to go down that road personally as one of my decisions. Yeah, after a betrayal or double cross, she was frequently destroyed as well. So, yeah, often at the cost of the hero's life. As women during the war period were given newfound independence and better job earning power, so a bit of history for you there, in the homeland during the war, they would suffer on the screen. So, yeah, it's sort of maybe a bit of a personal attack at women is what that's suggesting in that era. But yeah, no, just a very powerful female character, but it's a very interesting sort of character to explore. It's the first of the trailers that I looked at. Oh wait, I've got them up already. So I only found a few film noir trailers, admittedly. So we've got subtitle, quite cheesy transitions, which again was one of the choices, one of the reasons that I decided to go down the film noir path, was because I felt that trying to achieve a genre that in modern day has very developed special effects and transitions and quality of sound, for example horror. I'm not saying it would be impossible to do at all, lots of people have done it and done it well, but I felt personally that to pick a genre where technology wasn't as advanced, you know, the whole approach was so much less developed than it is now, obviously, that it would have its challenges, but in the respect of editing and decisions regarding transitions, it would actually be a lot easier to approach. You know, wipes, dissolves, that kind of thing. That was one of my initial sort of thought processes when approaching noir. So, I haven't really discussed what's been going on, but there's romance shown on the screen. But again, it's at 2 minutes 13, but there are very long, drawn-out sections of dialogue, and then the action tends to couple with the music. You know, there's a lot of action very suddenly, and then there's the long, drawn-out bits of dialogue, and then the title, preview of the there's very big titles on the screen. So yeah, in that respect, the style branches away from a lot of genres that have been developed into the modern age. I mean, from film noir, there is subgenres like neo-noir, which I did briefly look into. Sin City, for example, I had a look at that, and I sort of I considered taking that on. Neo-noir, I'll explain it a bit more, is taking black and white, taking that sort of style of film noir, and inserting flashes of colour, often for representational value. For example, a woman completely black and white, and then just red lipstick or red dress, or, you know, to represent danger, you know, lust, passion, anything that red represents, it sort of implies by highlighting that significantly, tells us more about the character. However, after thinking over this, I decided that I wanted to stay completely solid to the style of film noir. Yeah, that was the road I wanted to go down, just for the reason that it was where I started, and I wanted to pursue it in that way. I also thought with neo-noir, because it's such a subgenre, that there are films that are neo-noir, but there is more that I could do with film noir. You know, I couldn't look into much neo-noir as much as I could film noir, so I could draw more from what I could find. Right, so this Gun for Hire I looked into. I also looked into The Blue Dahlia, 1946 Alan Ladd noir. It's an Alan Ladd film. Right. Again, the big orchestral music, the big titles, the transitions, the pipes, split screen. Comments on the type of film. Action street story of murder in full bloom! Exclamation mark. No. Very distinct style. And again, it was almost starting like this is the start of the film.
Yes, Alan Ladd is in action again, and this time he's in
and if it wasn't for the voiceover, I mean, there are, it's just the cutting is every few seconds.
You've never seen me before tonight.
But it is very much reliant, I feel, on the voiceover, which is like, it almost reminded me when I first looked at this trailer of sort of Greek chorus, you know, like in tragedies, the telling of what's going to happen before it's already happened. In that same way, the voiceover tells us exactly who's who, what the relationships are, what's happening, what he doesn't know, what she doesn't know, but this is going to happen. That's the sort of feel it has. Yeah, all the way throughout. You know, action, murder, you know, it could be considered to be incredibly hard to approach, just because of the sort of action-based gangsters, guns, you know. So, I mean, at times I sort of thought, oh God, am I taking on too much? Is this going to be a genre that I can't do justice to? You know, that I can't create something that is, you know, a good tribute to it. And then the last trailer that I looked at, well, not the last one out of all of them, but the last one I'm going to discuss now, and one that I felt was incredibly significant in inspiring me, was Mildred Pierce, original theatrical trailer. Now, this one focuses on as opposed to a lot of the other ones I've watched, which did have the male character as a disillusioned, tragic hero, you know, trying to find his identity, confused, poetic. You know, instead of that, it very much did focus on a female character, a seductress as such, and I felt that it would probably be more achievable to zone in on something like that, which could explore more. It could explore the stereotype and represent the stereotype of that character. You know, as opposed to having the disillusioned male, and then having his wife, and then having the seductress, and then having the businessmen or the gangsters that are after him, or there has to be something a bit more. Whereas with the femme fatale, it's in her world, it is predominantly men. So it could have, I felt immediately that it might be a more achievable direction to take. So, immediately So there is gunfire and there is a lot of action suddenly.
Building.
But silhouettes.
Plane gasped in the night. One last word of a dying man. But one word that tells 1,000 stories
Yeah.
of a woman.
And this trailer in particular,
Every man.
I felt it followed a lot of. I found a video on YouTube about it's on the channel called Indie Mogul, and they do a lot of camera work based tutorials and 5-minute film schools and that kind of thing. And I found one specifically for film noir, and it explored the camera work that film noir typically uses, as well as the character. I mean, it covers a whole range of things in 5 or 6 minutes, and one of the key things that I wrote quite a fair bit about on my blog is the importance of lighting in film noir, and it seemed particularly here. I mean, at the start there was the silhouette of Mildred Pierce, who is the main character, giving her mystery, danger, those kind of things. The lighting is severe in a way. It's very harsh to create the silhouettes and the hard shadows. Also the canted angles, there's a lot of canted and extremely low, extremely high camera angles in these.
She met. Mildred had more to offer a man than a glance.
And I found this was very interesting. They went to different
Mildred knew what she wanted.
men
Wasn't too particular how she got it.
who commented on the main character, so it builds up a sort of gives us an idea of who the character is, what the other characters think of her. Almost like an interview, and then there again the wipes and the transitions are so different to any other genre in like modern genre. So yeah, I mean the thing is, yeah, and then you have the titles. I mean, it could be considered quite cheesy, really. So yeah, I mean, okay, so I looked through these and I looked at the conventions, and I've spoken a little bit about the femme fatale. So I decided to go down that route. I thought, okay, I've got someone in mind that has very classic features. She's a good actress. Let's go down that road. Let's think what I can do with her, what I can try and convey. And so I had that in mind. And then I thought, okay, so the second thing I really need to focus on is voiceover. And then I thought, oh, okay though. Looking at all these trailers, the type of voice used is very distinct. It's incredibly, it's a classic man's voice. I didn't have anyone that I thought is going to capture that same kind of feel of noir. It's not gonna, that kind of voice, I don't know anyone with that kind of voice. I can't pretend I do. Okay, so let's leave out the voiceover. How could I approach it in that way? So I thought, okay, let's think back to the conventions and trailers. In the TV spots and occasionally the teaser trailers, I watched other teaser trailers apart from Buried, but in some of the other teaser trailers I looked at, it seemed quite relevant that that a mood was created in those trailers, as opposed to trying to fit in the overview of a narrative or give you a detailed idea of exactly what's going to happen in the film. You know, it just gives you a mood, and that is why it is a teaser trailer after all. It doesn't tell you exactly what you're going to see, it just gives you an idea. And I actually found a quote about trailers, and it's on my blog, which I felt described this incredibly well. Hang on a moment. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I feel that capturing a mood and drawing an audience in that way is incredibly powerful, using audio, particularly, you know, just enigmatic visual images, or, you know, something that doesn't have to be explained with a teaser trailer. It just has to give an idea, or even a start of an idea. You know, it doesn't have to tell someone exactly what's happening in the film. Okay, so here's the quote. I've put the referencing to where I found it on my blog. It says, "Just as appetizers are necessary before a meal, trailers prime the pump, letting body and soul know a new experience is coming, so you're ready and alert and emotionally prepared for it." And I found that was very inspirational. I mean, you feel when you watch a good trailer, the music and what they do give you is enough to draw you in and to make you want to find out. It's enigmatic, but it's not boring. It's not, what was that? It's more, oh, what was that? Sort of thing, you know. So, yeah, I thought, okay, I'm gonna take on a mood. I'm not gonna try and put a voiceover in when I haven't got a classic voice that I can use. So, my trailer, I mean, the process and the construction is on the blog, a fair bit of the development of my ideas, but in the end, I'll put it on and I'll run you through what I did, where the inspiration came from. So, have the classic logo, Warner Brothers classic of the screen, black and white. I thought that was appropriate to make it seem more professional, more real. Because at the start of every film noir trailer I've found, they do have, you know, classic of the screen. That's where it's from. Okay, so the order of the shots on the trailer aren't the order in which I actually shot them. This is purely down to the editing. I mean, it's on my blog, my different filming sessions. In fact, the last shot on my trailer is the very first filming session I did. So, the first shot, I thought aesthetically, I mean, I had a few ideas. Once I'd found my setting, which is an old house belonging to one of my relatives, I had different places in the house, and I thought, oh, this could look great as a long shot. I know exactly what I could do with this. So she's behind some glass doors, and she opens them. It's a long shot, so it's quite a memorable opening shot, I felt. And it establishes straight away ultimately where she is going to be. And the music, I found by chance, so I put in a title there. I'll come back to the music in a moment. I put in a title, A Woman Greatly Desired. Now ultimately I put in the titles because without them, after I'd finished it without them, there was the problem that it could be interpreted as a music video for the song, which I'd found. Now, the way I overcame this problem, as discussed in my other audience feedback when they discussed this with me, but was to edit the audio track take out the vocals so that it couldn't be mistaken for being a music video, because I'm trying to set the mood, and also because I didn't want to. I didn't have any dialogue in there. I chose not to because because of audio reasons. Like I thought that it wouldn't be. I just didn't think because of the equipment I have, I didn't feel that it would be strong having much dialogue in there, personally. So I removed all dialogue. I took all vocals out of the instrumental, out of the song, leaving it completely instrumental, and then I inserted titles so that a sort of narrative was explained. There was hints as to who she, it wasn't explaining it greatly, but it distinguished that it wasn't a music video, that it was definitely a film, especially as at the end the film title is shown. So then I had an extreme close-up of an old-fashioned clock, just as part of the mise-en-scène, again setting the mood early on. And a fade out. And then there was my actress. Now I was really pleased to be able to have access to the setting I had, because these mirrors I found just they worked incredibly well. I mean, the representation of her having several reflections immediately as like subconscious. I mean, even though it expresses the fantasy side of it, it also sort of suggests that there are several sides to her, that she is, she is looking in the mirror because of her vanity, but that she is perhaps not, surface value. There are several, who is she? Identity as a theme. So, as well as looking aesthetically pleasing. So that was a major plus. And then I featured the name of the actress. Yeah, and again there was her putting on her lipstick, close up looking in the mirror, and then I wanted a close up of her eyes because I felt that this would express, if you have a sad expression, it shows through your eyes, and to have that inserted makes it incredibly personal for the character. And then it was very important for me when I featured, because I didn't want just the female character, I did want a hint of other people. The man that she is currently romantically involved with. So I had the shot of his hand off the side of an armchair with a cigarette and the ashtray, but I wanted it to be a certain thing that you couldn't see his face. His identity is not relevant, and in fact that represents that he is one of many of her romantic relationships. It's been the same, he's just the current one. You can see the side of his face, but yeah, I didn't want anything to really show who he was in the trailer. I mean, in the film, if there was a film of Femme Fatale, I would, perhaps his character would be explained further, he would have more of a role, but she is obviously the main character. I wanted her, what happens with her to be central to the trailer. So, yeah. And then I had this come up. Oh, I lie, I did keep in a little Okay, in that very last shot of her on the bench, I did keep in a little bit of the vocals, but it's very quiet and it's right at the end after the title of the film. So that is still distinguished that it's the film, it's not a music video, and it kind of gives a little bit of a touch to it. But yeah, and I loved the way that it was only, I didn't realise that it would look this way. I mean, at first when I approached wanting to film the character, I wanted her to be confident and a seductress and glamorous, and she is. But when after looking back at the filming, I noticed that she looked incredibly sad when she sat on the bench smoking, and I thought, oh, that's something that adds to the dimension of her. You know, it's different dimensions of the character. Her front is confident seductress, which we saw earlier on. Right at the end, there's a complete contrast where she is by herself, looking very pretty but looking very sad. So yeah, and then I had the release date as well. Yeah, and in total it's 59 seconds long, so basically a minute. But I felt that was enough to be a teaser trailer. I mean, I had to edit it down significantly, quite a few times, just because I had a lot of footage and I wasn't sure what to take out and what to leave in order to secure the mood that I wanted to convey. So yeah, I mean, that in a way I have broken a lot of the conventions of film noir, but I feel that I did this only to achieve a trailer that is believable. I felt that if I try and make this cheesy and fast-paced action in it and everything, I just felt personally that I wouldn't be able to achieve this, as well as taking a much more relaxed approach, you know, relaxed, capturing that mood and focusing in on one particular character. Yeah, so I mean, that is why, you know, I also focused in on the character of the Femme Fatale because she represents, you know, a typical stereotype of women, you know, with putting on the lipstick, being glamorous, smoking, but that sort of represents that she is perhaps rebellious in society. She's breaking the rules. It's not fit for women at that time to be smoking, but she is. She doesn't care. Okay, well, I think I've covered enough on the trailer. There's a lot more discussion about it on my blog, about the processes that I went through, some of my thought patterns, but I think I've talked about the main issues I face. So, let's move on to the poster, seeing as that's the first one I clicked on. So, I mean, the poster, I looked into some film noir posters, and the first thing I found was that they had a quality that made them seem more like drawings. Sound like Jonathan Ross then, drawings. Yeah, seem more like drawings, and yeah, I thought, okay, well, I could go for that approach. I could go to Photoshop and try and take my photos, do my photo shoot, put it in Photoshop and try and make it, you know, more of a drawing sort of thing. But I found in the end that I wanted to keep a sense of the theatrical campaign. I wanted to make sure that it was the link between the poster, the magazine and the trailer was really clear. I didn't want it to sort of be more questionable. Like, for instance, I didn't want to take a photo of the male character that was in the trailer featured slightly and have him on the poster, because he wasn't what the trailer seemed to be mostly about. So obviously I focused again on her. I took one really long photo shoot, millions of photos, and I'm glad I did. Phone going on. Okay. So, yep. So I took millions of photos. I decided to use. I decided to use this one with the mirrors. I mean, I felt that because the mirrors were so significant, like I've discussed before, the representation, and it sort of it briefly suggests identity as being an issue, as well as vanity, which is exactly what the whole film is central around. Vanity, femme fatale, she's seductive, she goes on her looks, but at the same time, that's all she has. So that's kind of, and then she's sad at the end of the trailer, like what is going on with her as a person, as opposed to this just having this title of being a seductress. So, I mean, there she is, and I had this photo, I took millions of them. I was really pleased with this one because I thought, she isn't the actual her, she isn't looking at the camera, but her reflection is, which again is sort of representational of, there being more to her. From her, in her reflection, there is more to her, as opposed to just what everyone else sees. Kept it black and white. Changed I didn't mention this before, but in the trailer I changed the contrast levels because I wanted to emphasize the lighting, the dramatic shadows, that kind of thing. So I changed the contrast level in this one, and I felt it worked well. I felt it was the best one to use the trailer. I guess being landscape, it looks more appropriate to be a billboard poster. I mean, it's just the set out of it. I guess you would just comment would be more of a billboard. Okay.